Joining. This is a collaboration between the PTSA and Syosset High School, so we would like to thank the high school faculty for their time and cooperation. This presentation is going to be about the college application process. It is being led by the guidance department. Please remember to keep yourself muted so that everyone can hear the presenters. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and this presentation is being recorded and will be available to view within a few days. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the PTA as well. First, before we get started, I just want to introduce myself. Even though you could see it on the thumbnail of my screen here, I'm Chris Raffini. I'm one of the assistant principals here at the high school. I work and oversee the guidance department. We're very excited because we have 4 of these PTSA guidance liaison presentations a year, and love them. Love working collaboratively with the PTSA. Just a quick history of who I am. I've been here now over 20 years. I was a guidance counselor for 6 years and been an assistant principal for in this building for now my 15th year, and very excited. I've always loved, as I mentioned, these PTSA guidance liaison meetings, and they're very exciting. We always have a nice discussion and a lot of great ideas come from them, but also give you guys an idea of in terms of what we do with our developmental school counseling program that you'll hear me talk about for the next few moments. Now, why we have this committee is to raise awareness. We obviously encourage parent participation with this, so having you guys on is great. And I think some of the information that we get to share here, it's better that it's done virtually, and I'll tell you why. We're able to record it, as was just mentioned before, and then we're going to be sending it out in an email in a week from now. So if you missed the presentation, if you couldn't come, if you on the presentation and there's something you wanted to see again, you can always go back and you could view it, which is great. And we get a lot of views, so we'd love for that to continue. So if you can keep doing that. Just a few quick things. While Ms. Biblo is going to present today, just please let her present. She's going to review a lot of the material. What we've learned with doing these over time is sometimes people have questions, and she has a lot of PowerPoint slides. A lot of that will most likely be covered in the presentation. And please, as mentioned, just stay muted during the presentation. That would be great. So one of the things to keep in mind with this PTSA Guidance Liaison Committee, which is to be great to get to work together collaboratively, is everything that you see here follows our developmental school counseling model, okay? And what that means is each program builds on top of each other each year, from 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So we're starting essentially at 12th grade, talking about the application process, but what Ms. Biblo is going to talk about, and what's good for a lot of parents that have underclassmen, even we have some 8th grade parents here, to hear about the process, hear about the level of preparation for it. So that's a great thing that we can do that. The other 3 meetings we have will be covering those topics of the developmental school counseling model, which will be great. Like always, I like to just give a quick update in terms of what we've been doing since the school year has started. We had over the summer, the counselors had so many appointments per each guidance counselor in terms of scheduling. If any students had just electives they wanted to change in their program and changing, so they had the opportunity to work with their students with scheduling. But we also had on August 22nd our college boot camp. And college boot camp is just a great way for students to come in and just start working on, if they already haven't, or if they have started working on, connecting their common application, essays, all that. So we had a lot of students come in with that, and our guidance counselors helped facilitate that boot camp that day. When we started school, September 8th and 9th, we had our senior meetings where the guidance counselors met with them to review Naviance, application procedures, again, to review and go over, because we're right now in the heart of submitting applications. And then following up with that, we had a parent workshop last Wednesday, September 10th, on the college application workshop in person that the guidance counselors each had classrooms with their own parents and students to review these procedures and these procedures again. And it's almost like I call it like it's a guidance open house, and we have 5 of them this year in terms of each grade level, and then we have our college night. So it's a great setup for that. Starting today, we have our freshman groups where the counselors are excited to welcome their freshmen into the high school. And then next Thursday, Friday, the 25th and 26th, we have something called College and Coffee. And that is with our guidance counselors, and we have our faculty come down and we talk college applications, letters of recommendation, and even helping our faculty if they're going through, if they have a child going through it. So it's great that we've been doing that this is our 2nd year doing that. And we always have a great turnout with that. It's just more of an internal thing, but I wanted you to hear about it. We also have our college essay workshop for students that is facilitated by 2 of our guidance counselors that will start September 22nd, and we run about 10 sessions or so. We cap each session at 5. And the reason why we do that is so the students can bring in their essays, whether they're completed, they haven't started, or they're in the middle of them, and the guidance counselors can work with them in reviewing the essays with them. If you're interested, you can reach out to your guidance counselor for that. So we have a lot of college visits that are coming up. That you'll see that on Naviance and in emails that go out. So just obviously, if your child is interested, seniors, if they're seniors, if your senior child is interested in a school, you could get a pass, and then you can go down to the location for that school. But without further ado, I do want to introduce Ms. Biblo, who will discuss, and she's been doing this now, I think the 5th year she's been doing this, where she provides tremendous insight to the college application process from A to Z. So I now want to introduce Ms. Biblo, one of our school counselors, who will talk about the college application process. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here to do this again. I'm going to share my screen, and when I do that, I can't see any of you anymore. So I'm just, give me a second, and I'm going to take care of this now. Okay. Good? Everyone good on my end? Okay, great. Fabulous. Just testing. Okay, good. Great. So I am very excited to be here. College is a time of excitement, and I hope to relieve kind of any anxiety. I know we have young parents on here. I hope the older parents don't get everybody so anxious. That is why we're doing this, to try to alleviate some of that stress and to know kind of just what's coming. The great thing about college admissions is the landscape kind of changes every year. So here at Syosset, we are constantly on top of the changes. We're all involved in workshops, and we meet with counselors, and we talk to universities and admissions reps all the time. So we have to stay on top of it just as much as the kids do as well. So I'm going to go through this PowerPoint presentation that I have, and I will absolutely answer as many questions as we have time for at the end. But you probably won't have that many, because I'm going to be answering a lot, as Mr. Raffini said, through these PowerPoint presentations. So the first thing I want to do is give you a little bit of trivia, and just try to put on your thinking cap a minute. Think about our community, and think about last year's class. So in 2025, what college had the highest enrollment of Syosset students? What college had the highest enrollment of our Syosset students? So we want to think of what college, and then how many students. That means how many students attended that actual college. So think about that, and I'm going to give you the answer. So with the class of 2025, Cornell came in 3rd with 25 students enrolled. Binghamton came in 2nd with 32 of our Syosset seniors enrolled, and Stony Brook was the grand winner with 35 students enrolled. So believe it or not, our local SUNY college grabbed the attention and the enrollment of most of our seniors. So the first thing I want to talk about is Naviance. Naviance is a computer program that we use here in the guidance department for many different reasons. So the first thing is we want to make sure that all students ultimately have a working username and password. We always tell the kids to talk to their guidance counselor if they don't, because we use Naviance, and you will use Naviance for many platforms. We use it for a college search, for teacher letters of recommendation, and to submit our college transcripts. So it's very important that our students have a working Naviance username and password. Our students love getting involved with Naviance because we can use those to look at the data of our former year classes. And we look at that through our scatograms, which is a really cool feature that gives you the data of acceptances and denials for the last 5 years of our students. We use it for college compare and acceptance history, again, so we can see the data of our students. We also have a really cool feature on it called Advanced College Search, which the students can take an inventory and kind of put in everything they're looking for in a college, and it will ultimately print out a workable list of schools that fit their profile. So if I put in that I want a 4-year university, I want to study engineering, and I want to stay in the New York tri-state area, it will give out a list of all the schools that meet your qualifications. It asks lots and lots of questions. And the more particular you get, the more that list is going to kind of narrow down. And it's a wonderful way to start. And what's great is the kids can go back and forth with this platform as many times as they want. Opportunities for students to get involved with colleges. And for counselors to talk to the colleges. We have live reps. We have a bunch coming today that come to Syosset High School to actually meet with the kids. So for example, South Carolina is here today. We have hundreds throughout the fall of these reps that come here. The kids get a pass, and they come and meet as a group, and then they can stay one-on-one and talk to these reps about their admissions, about their programs. We also attend virtual information sessions for students and counselors. I know our guidance department, all of us are constantly getting on live Zoom meets with all the different reps and all the different colleges across the country, even out of the country, to get involved and hear what their latest and greatest is on college admissions. We have a college night in April of every year, and it's not just for seniors. Anyone in the community can come. It doesn't matter. It's never too soon to start getting a feel for our reps. And usually we have over 100 colleges that come here in our spring fair. We also have local fairs that our students can engage with. I know Nassau Community College, Adelphi, Hofstra, they all run fairs. I actually try to go to them during the year also to pick up some great information. And NACAC, which is huge. A bunch of us are actually going to be getting to go this year. It's the National Association of College Counseling. And where we attend workshops, and we also get such incredible up-to-date information on college admissions. And we are very, very much engaged with NACAC. Guidance counselor also has live local meetings with our reps. So when these reps come and speak to the kids, they're also coming to talk to us, and we ask the most pressing kinds of questions that we know that students and parents want to hear. And we try to build these relationships with these reps so that when we talk to them about a student, they know who we're talking about. But keep in mind, these reps can change quite often. It's sometimes their first job and they're moving on, and hopefully we get to meet whoever, that new rep is. But we're very much on top of getting to know who's working in the admissions offices. Again, we ask these very hard questions to these schools. We don't beat around the bush. We really want to know what it takes to get in, and all of us do our very best to establish these relationships. But keep in mind, I'm going to say it again, college admissions requirements and processes can change every single year. And that's why it's very important that our department stays very much up to date, which I can say we absolutely do. So what can kids do to try to get involved in trying to learn about different schools? I mean, one of the positive things about COVID was it actually pushed a lot of these colleges to make better platforms on their websites. So a lot of them created these virtual visits. So no longer do you have to travel around the country and step on the foot of the campus. Is it nice to do that? Yeah, because you're actually within the campus and community, but it's very hard. You know, the kids have sports, the kids have work. You might not be able to take off work. It could be very expensive, you know, kind of visiting all of these campuses. So it's wonderful that these colleges now have these virtual visits. So basically, the kids can log on, and there's a scheduled time for the kids to actually, you know, plan an evening and pick a date and actually register. So you are showing a form of demonstrated interest because you are registering with the college, in which case now they'll have your contact information and start sending you further information about the school. But they offer these several times during the year so that the kids can actually log on and speak with a live rep. Now, it's usually not one-on-one. It's usually large groups of students who log on. Everybody is muted. They put a power presentation on like we're doing now, and the kids can take notes. They can take pictures of the PowerPoints. I always tell my students to do that because we're going to talk about that a little bit later of why that would be helpful with supplemental writing. But I always tell the kids, take notes. These virtual visits are fabulous because it can also help the kids decide, is this the kind of school I want to go to? You know, I attended many with my own daughter, who's a senior now, and through these virtual visits, we realized this wasn't very appropriate. So it was really a wonderful thing to do regardless which way you're leaning towards. You can also set up actual campus visits, which you would do online as well. A lot of these do fill up. So we always say if you're interested in going to a school, try to get on their website as soon as possible, because I know some of them do wind up having wait lists. And if you don't get on, you can absolutely still go see the school. A lot of them have self-guided walking tours, which I've done many times with my older daughter. But we all support the kids doing either the virtual visit or the actual stepping foot on a college campus. And it's never too early to start perusing through these websites. A lot of them have great videos, great information. They have great websites telling you what they're looking for in their applicants, what academics they're looking for. And also, you can do some of these virtual visits major specific. So if you know you're going into the School of Engineering, sometimes they'll have these virtual visits with the School of Engineering, the School of Business, the School of Health. So definitely tap onto these websites. So what does a college look for in admission? You know, everybody is talking about holistic applications and you know, really looking further past grades and looking at, you know, not just test scores. So what does a college actually look for when they're trying to pick through 80,000 applications? What makes your student stand out? Well, we do know that every college feels the same, that the academic program and the transcript is really paramount. They want to see how well the student is doing day to day in their courses. They want to see the level of courses that are taken each year. Is it Regents? Is it honors? Is it AP? Is it college level? They're looking at our profile. What do we offer at Syosset and what are the students taking? They're also going to be looking at the GPA, which stands for grade point average. Now, we have a GPA out of 100. So the highest a student can get is 100. And we weight it on the transcript, meaning that any student that took an honors or an AP course will get a bonus point added to their final average. So it is weighted. If we didn't weight, it wouldn't have those bonus points. It would be without those extra credit, you know, points towards their GPA. But on the transcript, we only put the weighted GPA. Senior year, they look at the strength of their program. Very, very important. You know, we really push that senior year can sometimes make or break admission. They are looking at those students and making sure they're still taking strong courses, that they're doing well in their classes. We send a mid-year report, which shows first and second quarter grades. So, if a student was kind of put on hold and they're deferred, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, or if they're applying early decision, sometimes they're going to look at those grades and kind of make a decision based on that. So again, we really want to make sure that senior year, everyone's staying in their lane and doing really, really well. So again, what a college is looking for, number one piece is the academic program. For better or for worse, these standardized tests are still here, and they seem to be coming back slowly but surely over time. The ACT and the SAT are still the two that are used for college admission. It does not matter which one the student takes. I get that question a lot. Do the colleges care? They absolutely do not care. If they're requiring it, it's one or the other, and it's really up to the student to determine what feels most comfortable and which one they would like to prepare for. Some students sit for both. Hot off the press, sort of kind of, ACT is now offered through paper or digitally. There is an optional science section now. It is up to the college to determine whether or not you have to take the science section or not. So we always tell students you want to verify that with the university if they do in fact allow science to be an option. Most do that have come across my desk, but I always tell the kids triple check and make sure. The SAT is now digital only. So that's a very important piece to know when you're preparing, that test is only given one way and it's digitally. The good news is, since both companies seem to be competing with each other, is they're making this test a little bit more friendly. They're cutting back on the amount of questions, not making the test as long. It's very strenuous to our kids to prepare and to actually take it. So they've been listening to some of the feedback, and they're making it a little bit more user-friendly. They're still hard, but definitely a little more user-friendly. Yes, there is something still called test optional. Again, that depends on the college. We always tell kids to keep up with the latest and greatest with admissions feedback and admissions news, because we don't always know if a school is going to remain test optional. Unfortunately, they typically tell us in the spring. So it puts everyone in a precarious position, because everyone, I know, doesn't want to prep and doesn't want to spend the funds if they're not necessarily sure they're going to use the test. But what we have been telling to all the students is to prepare for the test. Assume you need to take the test. And then when it comes down to where you are applying, you can ultimately determine if, in fact, you will be sending the score or not, depending on the university. But again, it's an ever-changing landscape with this. So we always recommend that students stay on top of admissions with that. There's also a company called fairtest.org. They're a wonderful website that absolutely tries to keep in constant contact with these schools and posts who is actually test optional and who isn't. Keep in mind, some programs at a university might be test optional and others not. So let's pretend you're applying to Red University, and Red University allows test optional for these majors, but not for these majors. Usually the sciences might want the score. So lots of different combinations. It's something to definitely stay on top of. So colleges also look at your activities and or your resume. So we don't necessarily require a resume. I just use that term to show kind of like what the kids are going to be needing in their application. So the common application gives you up to 10 spots to put all of your activities. Now, activities can be everything and anything: sports, service, clubs, internship, hobbies, believe it or not. They want to know everything that the students are involved with in and outside of the classroom. Jobs, everything. They also want to hear from you. If you can't work, if you can't volunteer because you have to get your little sister or brother off the bus every day and you're the sole caretaker in the home and don't have time for this, there are places on the activities resume and the Common App to express that. So I don't want those kids to feel like they're being left out or they couldn't get involved. There is an opportunity to express that on the application. But for those that don't, we encourage activities regardless of college applications. But just keep in mind, thinking ahead for everyone who's younger than a junior or a senior, that the Common App does give you up to 10 slots. And they want you to list the activities in order of most importance to you. So a lot of the times the kids will come to me and say, what order should I put it in? What looks good? The reality is, this is the time of the application that they're trying to learn about you and what you love, not school related. Kind of like, what are your passions? If you're an ice skater, they want to hear that. If you love the Animal Humane Society Club that we have here, write about it. It doesn't always have to be academic, academic, academic. That's not this. This area is to show that you are a well-rounded student and you love getting involved with clubs and hobbies and activities because you're a person, you're a human, you're not just doing research all the time. So it's very, very important. Again, the reason why they said is they want to hear the list of most important to you. If you don't have 10 activities, please do not worry. It's quality over quantity. So I know a lot of baseball players, football players, volleyball players, all the sports kids. That takes up a lot of time, especially if you're a 3 sport athlete plus clubs. You know, you may not have time for additional activities, and that's okay. That's why they're going to ask you the hours per week and the weeks per year. They want to see how much time are you spending on these activities. So again, do I need a resume? That's up to you and the colleges. You don't need a resume. Some colleges will ask you if you'd like to upload a resume, and that's not many of them. Usually a handful will even give you that opportunity. But again, that's this year. I don't know what's coming next year. But keep in mind, the only reason you would need a resume is pretty much if you're going over the 10 and you have a lot more to share that Common App isn't giving you enough room for. So usually less is more unless there's so much to share that you didn't get that opportunity and they allow you to upload a resume. They also will look at the counselor's letter of recommendation. So without even asking us, we as a guidance counselor will write your student a letter of recommendation. We write one for all of our students. How do we do this? Well, hopefully we all know the kids pretty well by senior year. The kids are going to be seeing a lot of us during junior and senior year. We use their activity resume or their activity record, just like they put on the Common App, so that we are also privy to all of that amazing information that they do in and out of school. It's amazing what I learned through those. Our kids are doing some really, really remarkable things outside of the school day. We also use, again, our personal knowledge of the student over the years. We've done career inventories with these kids over the years. Guidance meets with the kids. We're scheduling. We meet with the kids personally. So we really get to know these kids over the years. And of course, we use the parent and student input sheet that we give out end of junior year or beginning of senior year, which is the parent and the student opportunity to tell us anything else that they want to make sure that we include in their letter. We know that there is a lot of things going on in the home, the kid's character, the kid's relationships with family members, things that the guidance counselors may not know. And that is a wonderful opportunity to share that with us, and we will incorporate that into the student's letter of recommendation. So again, we will send that out automatically to every college our kids apply to in support. Our kids are also going to ask their teachers for letters of recommendation, and we have them do that in the spring of their junior year. We really like the kids to use their junior year teachers because that is the closest to college admission. You can go back, but we do not recommend that. We've heard from a lot of admissions officers, and they would prefer to have the junior year teachers. We want our kids to ask at least 2 teachers. They can ask more because some colleges do allow more than 2 letters of recommendation, but that is up to the student. There is also a place on the Common Application that we're going to teach these kids how to use. It's called Other Recommenders. So basically, if a student has an employer, a coach, someone that they know outside of school that they believe can write them a really strong and supportive letter of recommendation, we teach those kids how to invite those people to attach those to their applications as well. And that depends on the university. Not every university will allow an outside recommender, but some do. And we will show the kids how to do that if they should choose to. But again, the teacher letters are just another input that the colleges look for admission. Next up is that essay that everybody talks about for years, the main college essay. Believe it or not, I don't believe it's an essay. I like to look at it more as a personal statement. There's no intro to body, conclusion, thesis statement like the kids are used to writing. It's a 650-word, single-space personal statement. It comes out to basically a page and a little bit. So it's really not a major long piece of writing. But it is hard for these kids because it's usually the first time that our kids are writing a creative piece. They're not writing an essay based off a book or an argumentative essay or things that our typical English classes will do. This is more of they have to look inward and reflect upon themselves and write a piece. And that doesn't come easy to a lot of kids. So that's why we do have these college essay writing workshops, and the guidance counselors and the English teachers are always here to help the kids. Also coming up with an interesting topic. I love the essay. Or the personal statement. I love this because at least this is giving kids an opportunity to share, to express themselves, to talk about what they love, what inspires them, what makes them, and kind of like what challenges they've been to and through. I mean, so, it's also an opportunity for the kids to reflect on their own self-growth through this. I use the acronym MIM, kind of make it memorable. These colleges are reading thousands upon thousands of essays. I don't want them skimming the essay. So we want to catch them with a good hook, and we want to get them to read that essay and really express ourselves through our writing. So I really love the essay because I think it really is just so much more telling about a student than the numbers or what everybody else is saying about them. This is that one opportunity that they get to have a voice. Again, you want to make sure the kids seek feedback, whether it's from their English teacher, you as a parent, their guidance counselor. You want eyes on it, not only to check for grammar, but for content. So I definitely recommend when they do reach the high school that they attend our college boot camp that we offer and our college essay writing workshops. Also, if the kids are applying to a California school, they're also going to have these personal insight questions. And with a lot of kids now more and more applying out west, because the new trend is warm weather, a lot of kids are coming in with these insight questions that they actually get to choose from. They choose 4 out of the 8 questions, and each response is 350 words. So that is their kind of essay. So just know that could be coming down the line also if you have kids applying on the Common App and the California essay, the California application as well. You're also going to come across something called supplemental writing. So just when you think the application is over and done and you wrote your personal statement and you feel good about it, all of a sudden the application comes out and now they're asking you for additional writing. So what are supplements? Well, this is where the college actually gets a little more technical based on the specific college. So now they're saying, okay, all right, I see you're interested in our school, but how are you going to connect to our university? Where is the fit going to lie? So you need to follow their guidelines, do them even if they're not required, and do your research. So they might ask you questions. So for example, Syracuse. Syracuse is a place that seeks to be welcoming to all and has been since our founding. Explain why you're interested in Syracuse and describe a personal experience in which you persevered through adversity, rejected discrimination, learned a lesson, or were inspired by the courageous actions of others. And how will you apply what you learned to our community in a positive way? That's 250 words, not much space, but lots of questions within that little supplement. And all have to be answered with the thought in mind that this is geared towards Syracuse. And sometimes kids have multiple supplements. So if you keep looking down on this page, you'll see that lots of schools offer and mandate these supplements. Some colleges have 2 or 3 supplements. So this can add up. It is just as important, if not more important, that those supplements be great. Because this, again, is where you are now connecting specifically with the university. They want to make sure that you've researched the university and you're making connections specific to that university, all within a certain word count. And as you can see, some colleges have a 250 limit, while believe it or not, there are some colleges that go up to 500. So these kids can have multiple supplemental writing. Now, it depends from year to year what colleges have supplements, and they can change their questions every single year. So this is definitely not the kind of thing we can get a head start on every year, because you could just be answering a question that might not be there the following year. I've known plenty of schools that actually have started to get rid of the supplements for many, many different kinds of reasons. I know Delaware used to have a supplement. Now they don't have a supplement. Indiana used to have, and now they don't have. But who knows? Next year they can bring them back. So we always keep an eye and ear out on those supplements. But that's also a very big piece of admission. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the applications. What are these? So the most common and the most frequently used is called the Common Application. And this took over many years ago, and it seemed to simplify the process. And the kids are pretty computer savvy. But the Common App is a generic application for those of us who are older. It's a generic application that you can use, and it'll be sent to hundreds of universities participate, actually thousands. So now it makes the process seem really easy. So the kids can just fill out one application. They can add their schools with a click, and they can fill out the application, and it'll go all directly out to all of those different schools. You pay per school, you release per school. So the application, the general part, you only have to fill out one time. The essay is all common, so it's that one main essay. Then each school might have specific questions, plus they might have those supplements. But everything is computer-based. Nothing's written on paper anymore like a while ago. Also, the California state system, if the kids are applying to any California state schools, they have their own application. So it's very important that they use their application. They cannot apply through the Common App to the California schools. It's only the California state system. The CUNY application. So the City University of New York. So these are colleges like Hunter and Baruch. FIT is on it. Lots and lots of city schools. Queens College, they participate in the City University of New York. They are not on the Common Application. you have to create an account for the Common App, not through the Common App. You have to use the CUNY application. So they have a website. The kids have to create an account just like they did for the Common App, the California, and the CUNY. Same with Nassau Community College. If anyone is planning on going to Nassau, they will use the Nassau Community College application. Okay? And I love Nassau. I always give them a little tip because lots of our students throughout their college years will be taking classes at Nassau, typically over the summers and sometimes during fall, during winter breaks, they have winter sessions. So always know to use the Nassau Community College website and their applications if they're going to be a visiting student or actually attending Nassau. International applications. If they're applying overseas, internationally, a lot of these programs like Oxford and Trinity, they also have their own applications. Same thing with McGill. So it's very important that you speak to your guidance counselor to help you through the process of navigating the international applications. Colleges also might have both, like the SUNY system, Alabama, Arizona, FSU. Lots of colleges have their own application and they also participate in the common application. It's really up to the student to determine which application they want to use. They do not care. I find the Common App just easier, but sometimes students like to use the separate application if they want to add more schools to their Common App and went over the amount. But they don't look at it any different if you use their application or the Common application. So all of these applications have different deadline dates. So this is something that's very important to adhere to. Early decision. Early decision is for that student that knows that they want to pick one college that they absolutely love. They get to pick only one and they have to apply by that certain deadline. Same thing with early decision 2. Usually early decision round 1 is November 1 or the 15th, and then round 2 is in January. So you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on those deadline dates. Early action is a non-binding where early decision is. It's an agreement contract. If you get in, you must apply and pull all of your other applications out. Early action, you can apply to as many schools as you want. Early action, as long as it meets by the deadline date, which again, for the southern schools could be October 15th possibly. For other schools, it might be November 1st, it might be November 15th. Every college is very different, and it'll tell you that on their website, and it'll tell you that on the actual application. Restrictive early action are for typically the Ivy League schools. They're very, very obnoxious, and they're actually restricting the kids from applying early action unless they're up to any other school, unless it's a public school. So they're saying, okay, if you want to go to Harvard, you can apply early action. They don't have early decision, but we're not going to let you apply any other college early action unless it's a public school. If it's a public school, no problem, but no private schools, only us. Rolling admissions is almost like a dying breed, I feel like. It's not many colleges offer rolling anymore. Indiana does, Pitt does. There's a few remaining, Iowa, but not many left. Rolling is basically a first come, first serve kind of application. I think Alabama does too now, where you apply and then within a few weeks you will be admitted or rejected or deferred or whatever their notification they're going to give you. So we always tell kids, get the rolling ones out first because you'll hear sooner and can relax with the admissions process. Regular decision just means the school is going to give you a deadline date. It could be in January or February. Lots of schools offer, regular decision or early action or early decision. So these are things that you have to discuss kind of with your guidance counselor or with your family. The best way for you to apply. Keep in mind those SAT scores or ACT scores, when you take them, can also play a factor in how you're applying, because especially for early action, the deadline date, could typically pass by the time a student wants to take one of those tests. You should always verify with the university when the last test date is for one of these decision timelines. We also offer on-site admissions, which I think is an amazing thing that our school district offers. This is where the local colleges from LIU, Hofstra, NYIT, Adelphi, St. John's, some SUNY schools, they actually come to Syosset High School. They meet with the kids, they review their transcript and their application, and they gain admittance on the spot, literally in our office. They come down, they get a pass, they meet with the rep, and usually our kids are accepted and they leave with an acceptance. Sometimes they even walk away with scholarship money. They actually know at that meeting how much money they're going to be offered. Keep in mind, if they don't get a decision or if they're missing any information, the rep will let them know. They will let them know where they stand at that meeting. The students just have to register. We make announcements through our senior bulletin, through announcements, through emails, through Naviance, and the kids will be notified. They register and they come down and they meet with these reps. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and I really, really encourage all the kids to get involved with that. I want to trickle back for a minute talking about ED, because it is such a big topic, and I want to make sure the community knows kind of like where we stand and what's expected of the early decision process as more and more kids are thinking about ED. I know Michigan just opened up with an early decision agreement as well, and I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but this might be moving forward where more schools will do this. So what's expected of me if I get into ED? Well, we definitely want to make sure that the student will email the admissions office as soon as possible and pull all of your other colleges that the student applied to, because that is holding up other spots for our students. It'll help their peers in the admissions process. We're all kind of working together in this. So if you get an early decision, as you know, it's a binding agreement and the student must attend. So we just want to remind the kids that all it does is it just requires an email. They won't take it over the phone because it needs to be in writing. So you just have to email admissions and you let them know that they have to, that thank you very much. I'm so appreciative of sending in the application and the opportunity to apply, but I've been accepted to another university and I'd like to pull my application. And you're going to get a lovely email from the admissions office thanking you for doing that, because it's also helping them. So very, very important, again, with early decision, to make sure that you pull your applications from the other schools. The STARS. So I'm going to briefly explain the STARS program to you. What has been happening is that these colleges have been receiving thousands and thousands of applications, and they want to get a head start on reading them, because not everything is sent, but as soon as the student actually sends, such as our transcripts, letters of recommendation, etc. So these colleges want an early start on your application. So some, not all, have decided to make an agreement with this STARS company. It's a self-reported transcript and academic record system. So for many colleges, this is required. It's not optional. More and more schools are participating in this as the years go on. Penn State, Delaware, FSU, Pitt, Quinnipiac, lots of schools now are requiring this program. This is another username and password application. It's a website. The kids will create an account, and it's literally data entry of their transcript. So they have to go with their transcript, have a copy of their transcript, and they have to self-input all of their courses, grades, credits, and levels. We hosted this past September a workshop, a STARS workshop, where we met with all the kids, anyone who is interested in learning how to set up the account and how to fill it out. We also did that in our boot camp. But students can create their STARS at any time and access it at any time and put in their grades maybe yearly instead of one time. It's really up to the kids. But we wanted to make sure that kids are becoming familiar with this, because a few years ago it wasn't around. So if you had older siblings or children in the family that didn't have this, this is definitely something that more colleges are taking advantage of. Again, it's called the STARS. It's an academic self transcript reported record. Now I'd like to talk to you about our kids that are classified and or have 504 kind of accommodations. So our kids with any kind of disabilities. There is a difference between a support services that are provided through a university, such as extended time, testing modifications, and what's provided by the university, as opposed to a specific program. So lots of colleges offer a little bit more hand-holding kind of programs, almost like support that we might offer here in instructional support or a resource room. This is where families will probably pay a little bit more for a program, and they will get more support in their college years. People to check in on them, tutoring, counseling, help with their schedules, help navigating the school. Definitely more of a supportive program. Now, again, not every college has these programs. If anyone is interested in learning more about the programs, definitely reach out to your guidance counselor. We can provide further information. And we also, in the spring, hold a students with special education services college workshop. And I definitely would encourage students to apply to that as well. So again, is there a fee? No, there's not a fee for accommodations. If you're just looking for testing accommodations, there's no fee. The kids will send in their IEP or 504 plan directly to the university once they know they are attending, and they will touch base with that department. However, there is a place on the application that asks for additional information. And some kids can put yes, and some kids can put no. And this is another wonderful feature that I love about the Common Application now. They've gotten a little bit more understanding that there's a lot more behind the application that they used to not be able to share. So if you want to share about disclosing any kind of learning disability or something that happened within the family or something within yourself or something else that you're looking to share, the Common App is giving you up to 300 words to do that. If you look above the first question, would you like to share any details about challenges or other circumstances you've experienced? If you push yes, you're going to get a box there as well. So these two are very, very similar. They're almost like fluid. It's basically if you want to share any additional information. So to me, if you want to disclose that there's any kind of learning disability or you have an IEP, this is probably where I would share it. It's a great opportunity. It is not looked down upon. Please don't believe that. If you've heard that, it's a wonderful thing for the universities to know and to look for in your application. Because remember, they have departments for students with disabilities, and they want to make sure those departments are being used. And they welcome students with all sorts of disabilities. So please don't look at this as something negative. And if you have any questions, again, about whether to do that, you can absolutely speak to your guidance counselor. Other considerations for our actors, our dancers, our athletes, our honor students. There's all sorts of applications and programs and things that you might have to do and consider. Honors programs might have additional essays. Some of our students are applying to undergraduate, graduate programs like a BS-MD program or a law program. You might have additional essays to do that. The arts, you might have a slide room or a portfolio that you have to upload. You might have an audition. You might have 5 rounds of an audition, and the first one might be to send in a videotape. Some programs you have to be admitted to the university first, and then they'll give you an audition date. Every college is so different with admissions with the arts. So you want to make sure that you get a head start and research that in advance, not October of senior year. You want to get ahead of that. Athletics, if you're applying and to college and planning to play a Division 1 or 2 sport, you need to fill out the NCAA Eligibility Center Clearinghouse form, which is online, and all of us have mentioned that to the kids several times. They will not let you practice, participate, play, do anything unless you are cleared by the clearinghouse. Division 3, you do not have to do that for. However, we always recommend clearing just in case you get pulled to a Division 2 school. You want to make sure that you're cleared. So if you have any questions about these specific types of programs, please reach out to your counselor. Ultimately, you're going to start hearing, which is such an exciting time, and decisions can start as soon as September. Some of these schools, like I said, that are rolling can come out, now. The majority of the kids that applied early action are usually hearing around Thanksgiving or Christmas time or shortly after the new year. And then the regular decision kids usually have to wait till February or March. But this is definitely a long, drawn out process. And again, we're here for the kids every step of the way. Decisions can be exciting, they can be sad, they could be everything in between. Keep in mind, everybody as a community out there, this is the first time that our kids and our parents are dealing with something out of their control, right? We picked the school district we wanted to live in. We picked the sleepaway camp or the day camp or the church that we wanted to join or the synagogue that we wanted to join. Everything has been in our control. This is the first time that these kids have no control. They're just throwing this out there and hoping they get something positive in return. So of course they're going to be anxious. Of course the parents are going to be anxious. But it's okay to feel a little bit of excitement and anxiety all wrapped in. We are here for you and the kids with the highs and the lows. But I have to tell you, in all the years I'm here, the kids always find their way, they always find their place, and they're always going to find love here in the guidance department. Students eventually are going to be accepted, denied, deferred, or waitlisted. Accepted, great. They don't have to tell anyone that they're going anywhere until May 1st. So they can take that acceptance and they can hold on to it and they can do what they will with that. If they are denied, it depends on the school, but usually that's that. They may ask if there's an appeal process. Sometimes the kids ask. It's doubtful. In rare instances, you might be able to appeal, but for the most part, it's a typical denial. If the student is deferred, it means that the college is not ready to give them an answer. It's positive in the fact that it wasn't a rejection, so it's not totally out of the question, but they're not ready. They may be looking for more information, typically the mid-year report. They're usually looking for grades. That's usually what they're looking for. We always tell the kids to follow the directions of the university. If they want another letter of recommendation, if they are looking for another essay or to reply to something that they're asking. If they're not asking for anything, it means they have everything they need and it's nothing based on anything except maybe your grades or wanting to see their enrollment management, which is a very big part, probably the number one part of admissions. What are they looking to fill? A student might also be waitlisted. Now, waitlisted can be really frustrating because that means that they love the kid, they would admit the kid, but just not enough room for all these amazing, incredible Syosset kids. So they may be put on this wait list. Some kids can hear from a wait list 2 weeks later. Some might not hear till August. Some they'll only hear that the wait list is now closed. So we always recommend if a student is waitlisted, you'll let them know if you want to remain on the wait list. But I tell my kids, do not really wait. That's their wait list. We want our kids to move ahead, plow on, find a school. Yes, it's frustrating because kids do move on. They get roommates. They have bed decorating parties. They're all in. And then July 3rd, they get a phone call that they have a spot. So hearts are broken. Roommates are frustrated. There's a lot of emotions at play. But ultimately, this is what can happen. So just know that going in. Again, it's enrollment management. The colleges don't look at what happens with the domino effect when a kid changes and pulls out of a university. They're very selfish. They care about themselves and what's best for them. Again, ED, if you're admitted, you must attend and you must pull out all of your other applications. If anyone has any specific questions about early decision and finances and financial aid and should we apply and what happens, speak to your guidance counselor about that. Again, May 1st is commitment day. It's a wonderful day here at the high school. All the kids wear their sweatshirts. Parents need to make sure that they leave a deposit. Sometimes rooming can be based on that. So you want to keep an eye on when do I let my college know that I will be going. Scholarships and financial aid. So very quickly, merit-based scholarships, best kind of money you can get. That is where the school wants to offer you cash. And they're going to say $10,000 a year, $20,000 a year, $40,000 a year, $5,000 a year. That's money that you do not have to pay back. That's based on your grades, merit, grades. Could be SAT, could be ACT, could be no tests, could be just their grades. Every school has their different combination of why they give merit money. One school could give a lot this year, they don't give a lot next year. So, when you ask your guidance department what schools give money, we don't have an answer for that. Every school's budget is different every single year. But what we do know is merit-based money is the best money to get because you owe them nothing. You just have to keep up a certain GPA typically. School-based money. School-based money is where you can find money within the university once the student starts. So when a student is at their university, throughout their different majors, there may be more applications and scholarships that those students can apply to. I know my own daughter, while she's been in school, has gotten plenty of money by just filling out applications based on her major. Money can come from parent employment. If your company has scholarships or offers any kind of money, I know a lot of students come in with me filling out an application form for a union member or anything through a parent's employer. Money can come from financial need. Obviously, that's FAFSA. That's the federal aid that's given by both the university and our federal government. There's an application for that. You're going to have to put in all your tax returns, your banking, your blood, everything goes into the FAFSA form, and the application for that will open in October. And the sooner you get that filled out and sent in, the better. There's also something called a CSS profile, which is part of the FAFSA for the private schools. So if you are applying to a private school, they want to dig deeper into your money and your investments, and they're going to make you fill out a profile. Scholarship Universe is amazing. I plug them every year. Once your student knows where they're going, they should log on to Scholarship Universe at their university. Every school has it. They will post alumni scholarships, foundation scholarships. There's so much money out there on your college campus that you can still get money while you are in college. And of course, our Syosset local scholarships, typically in February, March, April, is a great time to really fine tune that senior bulletin that we give out. Read it, read it, read it. We have amazing scholarships granted to our kids from all our local associations, our alumni, memorial scholarships, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars we give out each year to Syosset students based on community scholarships. And they're all posted in our newsletter, which a lot of people don't read. So I really encourage you to start reading those, the students as well. So my final remark to you before I leave is, what is the goal? The goal should be to find the right fit, because what happens is the sweatshirts and the stickers and the excitements all wear off, and the kids are at a university left. They need to feel happy. They need to find friends. They need to feel a part of a community. It's not about a match to be made. It's about a match to be made and not a prize to be won. So although we're very excited to tell everybody that our kids got in, it's a match. It's not a prize that we win. It's something that has to be the right fit. And please know that the college the kids attend does not determine future success. The kids determine their success. What they do on that college campus ultimately decides their success. The walls are all the same. They're all cinder block walls at every school. The difference is the relationships that they make, dealing with their professors, getting involved in their campus community, and making the most of their time there. That's what gives the most success to our Syosset kids. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing.
Actually, Ms. Biblo, before you sign off, I think there were one or two parents who had questions. I think one parent was.
Oh yes, I'm going to stay on. I'm just ending the slideshow.
Right. One parent was inquiring about if you could reiterate the ED1 and ED2 deadlines, and also when could students and parents expect to hear back based on those?
Okay, so if an ED deadline is November 1, typically they will hear back around Christmas vacation. That's usually, sometimes if you go on their website, they'll give you an exact date and time. But it really depends from school to school for the ED, how much they're willing to say. Usually they'll do it on a Friday because they don't want admissions to be open. They don't want to field all the phone calls on the weekend. They want to kind of settle it down, but it's typically on a Friday. So I'll just explain. They wanted me to explain the difference between ED1 and ED2.
I think they're probably clear on that. They were just wondering about the deadlines and when.
Okay.
What about ED2? I guess that's a bit later.
Yeah. Okay. So ED2 is interesting. ED2 is for that student that a couple reasons. One, they didn't really know whether or not they wanted to commit yet. They wanted to have more time to go visit the campus. They just needed that more time to think about other schools. And then they finally decided, you know what? My grades are good. I got my SAT up, or I got my ACT up. I wanted more time to take the test. Lots of different reasons that they decide, okay, now I'm going to apply early decision. So they hold off on applying to that school, and they fill out the application and they say ED2, which is usually by January 1. And now it's a binding commitment to that school. So it's the same rule. You apply early decision 2. If you get in, you must go. If you don't get into your early decision school, whether it's 1 or 2, you no longer have to go if they deferred you. Okay? If they defer you and then you get in, you no longer have to be bound to that school.
And when might you hear back? January?
Yeah, usually you won't hear back. Well, ED1 is typically by January. ED2 isn't until March, typically in March. Another issue a student might do ED2, which we find more often than not, is that the student applied ED1 somewhere else, didn't get in, and now they want to take another shot because you can only apply to one school at a time, early decision. So you might have that student that applied to Cornell early decision round 1, didn't get in, and now they want to throw it into Tulane because Tulane offers ED2. And the reason why kids are putting all their eggs in these baskets is because a lot of colleges take a larger percent of their class through early decision. So a lot of the kids really want to, kind of get in that bandwidth of acceptances. That's why they do it.
I think there was also one more question from the parents.
Sure.
If the students would also be viewing a session like this as well.
Yes, so we had college application, we did this last week with all of our seniors. We actually do it with juniors as well. So usually junior and senior year are where we're pretty much addressing, college admissions at our high school. We plant seeds each year. We work on Naviance each year with these kids, but typically, it's pretty much, through junior, senior year is really where we're doing that.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Biblow. Thank you, Mr. Rapini.
Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate the turnout. Figure a week. We do have a short week next week. Our goal is to get this emailed out late next week, but it will also be on the high school website. Thank you so much for the turnout, the questions. This was great, and we're looking forward to our next meeting in about a month or so, give or take, a month and a half. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you.